To Pro Power Hour. Happy Thursday. Happy Friday Junior. My name is Chris Weldon. I'm one of the community managers with Housecall Pro. And this is Pro Power Hour. This is a series we do, a webinar training series we do every Thursday right around this time, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. You can really think of this as a product training course that you can come and attend every week. Every single week, we cover a different feature or a couple of different features. And we do kind of an overview and we give you a demo. Phil's so gracious and does this with us every week. We've covered a variety of topics. We started this in May. We've covered everything from our marketing center to service plans to multi-option approvals. We talked about estimates. So covered a lot of ground. We still have a lot to cover and we'll continue to do that. If you missed the last couple of weeks, we just had some like onboarding style trainings. So if you're new to Housecall Pro or you have some new employees, you can go back and watch those recordings for your technicians and for your office staff. Phil did a great job last week, and Zach did a great job with their technicians the week before. So we'll drop the recordings to those. If you have any questions along the way, if you're on Zoom or you're on Facebook, just drop it in the chat or in the comments, and we'll be sure to capture those. And today we're going to be talking about the mobile app a little bit more. So Phil, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks so much. For all of you who haven't seen me before, I am Phil Spingola. I'm one of the onboarding specialists over here. If you have called in for a support call or have done any of the onboarding sessions with a Max or Max Plus plan, you have probably talked to me or my team. So really excited. One of the things that I go through with just about every pro that I talk to and their company is we do some sort of mobile app training. I'm going to kind of run through this from basically an admin account. And as we go through it, I'm going to point out the certain things that technicians will need permission in order to see. So we're not going to get it from like the bare bones. We're going to get the app where you can see it as much of it as you can. And we'll just kind of point out the things that will shrink it down. And also the way that I typically do this is mobile app training is really kind of in about 3 to 4 different sections. So before I always move on to the next section, I will give a couple of minutes to kind of take a look at some questions because there is going to be a lot of information. Also, as we go through some of this, I may shorten some parts of it because this can take some time. Just kind of assuming that you all are somewhat familiar with the system, so I don't necessarily have to explain every specific detail. But happy to go through this with y'all, so let's get started. Okay.
Zoom has been screens the last couple days.
Chris, I don't know. Do you have to give me permission in order to share my phone?
Let me see.
Or it could be my my cord here. No, it says it's in.
Yeah, no, you should be.
There we go.
There we go. Cool.
Okay. All right. So when you open up the mobile app, this should be the first screen. Now, before I continue any further, I'm going to state that I have an iPhone over here. So if you do have an Android, it may look a little different, but it should be fairly similar. So this is the dashboard. This is the first thing that pops up, and I will go from the top to the bottom and explain everything that is along the way. So first thing I'm going to talk about is in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a couple of lines with a check mark. And when you click on that, that is going to open up tasks. And so if you are familiar with tasks, we can create tasks for ourselves, and we can also assign tasks to other people. So if you are a field technician and you are being given tasks, this is where you're going to go to be able to complete those. So as you can see, all of these tasks are right here listed for me. It's very simple to say once you've completed it, you can just hit the little circle there, see what it says, and then once you have completed the task, you can go ahead and hit done. There is also a section for As I mentioned, that was kind of the admin. I'm looking at an admin profile here, so that's how I am able to look at all tasks. Technicians will be able to look at solely their tasks. So here's me looking at my particular tasks that have been assigned to me. So once I'm done, I'll just hit the button and that will go ahead and mark that it's been completed. You can also assign your own tasks. So if you ever do want to assign your own tasks, you can hit the plus button up in the top and go ahead and assign a task to yourself. As a admin, you do have the ability to create tasks for other people within the mobile app. So as you can see down here, I do have the ability to create a task, description, due date, assign to, and if a customer is related to this, we can go ahead and add the customer as well. That doesn't seem to be working for me, but that might be something going on. But I have seen that in the past. That will work for you. You can assign a specific customer to a task. Let's go ahead and back it up. So again, moving on down, there is needs attention is at the top. What that is going to be for is for basically anything, as an admin, I can see anything that is unpaid and anything that is unscheduled. So I can go ahead and go through all of these and see, look, I've got, all of these due invoices here. This one is due and needs to be scheduled. So it gives us that information of what we need as admins. There's the unscheduled side. So as an admin, I can go ahead, take a look at some of these that are listed as unscheduled, and I can go ahead and get them on the schedule if I need to. There's the appointments, but we will go through a whole job a little bit later, but just wanted to point out that there you can go ahead and make that appointment. All right, so then continuing on moving down, for everybody, they should see this clocked out, tap to clock in button. Now, what that is going to be for is if any of you are doing time cards, the field technicians, this is mostly for you. When you do need to clock in and clock out for the day, you'll go ahead and just tap the box. As you notice, it will go green. This really, as I talked to many people in the past, like this really isn't rocket science. So when you are talking to people about having to clock in and clock out for the day, it's really right there. And we all just saw how simple and easy that is. So if anybody is having troubles with that, feel free to share this video with them. To the right of that, we can take a look at the time card. So we can take a look at all of the times as a technician, all the times we've clocked in and clocked out for the week. So we can take a look at that information. As an admin, I'm able to take a look here at the pipeline. So any of you that have the pipeline feature, when we go into that, we can look at it in the mobile app, similar to how we look at it in the web portal. So if I want to look at my leads, you can always slide over to go into your columns. I call them buckets. So if you want to ever look at your pipeline and look at those buckets, you can certainly do so on the mobile app. Continuing on down, the next thing is open work. So as a technician, you will certainly have this. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to see any work that is assigned to you that has not been completed. So as we go through this list, we can see all of the jobs that have been assigned to me. Again, they just haven't been completed. For upcoming jobs, now I always bring this up because there is a permission within a Housecall. For admins, they can go ahead and make this switch for technicians, which is, are you allowed to see your next job? And I was explaining this to somebody the other day. Some people don't want their technicians to see what their next job is because maybe they might rush on the first job, try and complete that too quickly so that they can move on to the next one because maybe that one's a little closer to home or whatever the case may be. That's why there's that permission of if you want them to see it or not. If you do allow them to see it, they will be able to see that upcoming job. So this is my next job right here. I can always click on it and get ready to go ahead and tell the customer that I'm on my way. Underneath it is invoices. So This way, I'll be able to go ahead and look at all of the invoices that are within my name, and I can see all of them that have been paid, any that have a due balance, any that we are still waiting on payment. So really just a place for you, again, to kind of look at all of the work that is not completed or not paid yet. Down below here, this little jobs part, that is going to be an admin feature. So for admins, you'll be able to take a look at this as well as estimates. You'll get this screen mostly for admins, but as field technicians, you won't be getting this information of what was created, how much was won. Same thing with those invoices with the collected and uncollected. That kind of little report view is strictly for admins. However, technicians, similar to invoices, can click into estimates to view any estimates that are that are in their name and see the status of any of that have been approved, been declined. As we can see, a lot of these still haven't been approved or declined. So that way I can go into them and go ahead and send them out again. So I can collect approval or not. So that's kind of what's here on the front dashboard. The other thing we can do from here is in the upper right-hand corner, there is the plus button. That is where we can go ahead and open our intake form. We can create a job. We can start up an invoice, which is technically kind of the same thing, an estimate, an event, or a referral. So we're going to go through kind of those steps once we finish going through the options on the bottom. But right now, I want to take a chance to take a look at any questions that came up as we were talking specifically about the dashboard. Is the best place to learn how to input and schedule jobs. So Brad, you're new to HCP. Where is the best place to learn how to input and schedule jobs? So I'm going to show us how to do that through the mobile app, but personally, I always find that a whole lot better to do it on the web portal. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't watched the session from last week, go ahead and check out our Learning Center because there is something in there about scheduling, dispatching, and payments. Oh, and I see Lauren. Lauren got you. Perfect. Can you select one technician to only see one job at a time? It would be helpful for him, but not others. Sarah, can you select one technician, see one job at a time? So technicians can only see jobs that are assigned to them. And really the only permission is that can they see their next job or not? And the other permission is, can they see their full schedule or not? A technician cannot see another person's schedule. The only people that can see other people's schedule, or let's say all of the employee schedules, are admins. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Oh, one more question. If our techs are in bad service area, can they still see everything and use the app if online? The number one question and number one request we have constantly gotten. The app is not fully functional offline. We are slowly starting to improve that. The newest improvement that we had is that you are able to do and view scheduling offline. But in terms of closing out jobs and creating jobs and things like that, more to come on that. All right, so I'm going to move on. I'm just going to go to the left here. Next is the schedule. So as a technician, they would only be able to view their schedule. But as an admin, I do have the capability of viewing everybody's schedule. So in the upper left-hand corner, I can hit the three dots. And as just similar to how we do it on the mobile, or the web portal, we can go ahead and filter the calendars of who we want to see. We can look at a day view, or we can also look at a list view. Some people prefer the list view because it's a little bit more uniform, but if you want to get that same view as the schedule, you can certainly do that as well. All right, Jason, I did see you have one. I didn't see an agenda. We'll be talking about annual maintenance plans, bulk editing, property profiles. So we aren't going to go in depth on those because a couple of those we've already done in the past, but I will point out what we can do within the mobile app. All right, so for schedule, as I mentioned, that's how we can filter with the schedule. We can certainly go from day to day just by swiping over to the side or hitting any of the dates at the top. A little smiley face is really for sharing, giving feedback. So if you constantly see that, and if you've seen that, and you're wondering what that is, that's kind of the one time I'm going to bring that up, but we will see that smiley face throughout the app. For clicking on today, that will automatically take our schedule to today. And similar to the dashboard, if we hit the plus button, we can go ahead and start any one of the options below. So the next thing I'm going to scoot over to is the inbox. So my account personally doesn't have the text messaging feature. So anybody that is familiar with the text messaging feature, this is where you can go ahead and do a lot of your texting to your customers, to your employees from the mobile app. And if you did set up a custom SMS number within your account, that is the number that is going to be texting the customers because we're doing it through the mobile app. So as a technician, if I'm texting a customer through the inbox, that is going to be the number that is the text SMS number, not my personal cell phone. So yeah, as we can kind of see, I don't really have the capabilities, but if you do have the text messaging feature already set up on your account, I would strongly recommend giving it a try with your mobile app. Also in here is the job inbox. I know that this has had some improvements, but this is where some of the lead generators that we have and that we partner with, that's where some of these will start to come into play. We did do a whole session on the job inbox a couple weeks ago, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you have more questions regarding job inboxes. But as I was mentioning, if you are familiar with them, you can always access them in your mobile app. The next thing over is customers. So as a admin, I can go through the customer database and I can go ahead and add new customers if I need to. As a technician, there is a permission to keep technicians from being able to make changes to the customer database. So if they have that permission turned off, then they would not have this option. Same thing, there is another permission for technicians to be able to contact customers. If that is turned off, they will not have the inbox feature. Then really the last thing on here is the more button. And so really in here as an admin, you're able to access your price book, go into a little bit of company setup. But really as technicians, they wouldn't have access to that. Really all they would have is kind of the chat and help center, call support, preferences, share the love. Like it's very basic and more kind of like that back end stuff that really not a lot of people pay attention to. But as admins, you do have more stuff in here. Again, like company setup, price book, looking at the My Money section, which is new to the mobile app, and the pipeline feature. So before we dive into going through estimates and jobs, possibly even the intake form through the mobile app, any questions that have popped up? As of today, a little wrench has appeared on the jobs for my techs. This is new, and my techs are wondering what that wrench means. Tiffany, could you maybe explain just a little bit more about that? I'm going to kind of move a little bit forward in the app, but I still want to answer your question. Is there a reason, Justin, is there a reason why some techs can expand the line items to see the job description while others cannot? They have the same permissions. Justin, I don't really have an answer for that because if they all have the same permissions, they should be able to see everything pretty similarly. You might want to set up a coaching call through the blue chat bubble so that we can take a deeper look at what's going on. Is there somewhere I can send a screenshot to show you? Okay, Chris has got you. Will the text feature keep a history of the text history? Jason, yes, it does. Is there a good headset or phone that can be used with HCP voice? Juan, this is not really what we're going over today, but I always tell people just about any headset works. I use my earbuds and they work just fine for the voice. When we'll be able to designate a lead tech versus apprentice on a job. We don't necessarily have a title for them for that. You could certainly use it as a employee tag. When you set up employee tags, typically some people put in lead and then apprentice, apprentice, apprentice. I would recommend looking back at last week's session because I did mention how within your schedule you can move people on the order of the schedule. And I typically advise people to put their leads at the top, their apprentices on the bottom. But in terms of an actual like designation, really all we have is the employee tag. All right, so I'm gonna go into just kind of doing building a job. We're gonna start with building an estimate and then work through an estimate and go all the way to a job within the mobile app. So we'll start, let's go ahead and we can take a look at the intake form. So required here, we'll go ahead and pull our customer. And for those that are familiar with the intake form, you still have access to the request guide. I'm not going to go ahead and pick many of these just because I feel like a lot of people that use the mobile app frequently usually don't use the intake form as that's fairly new. And the people that do use the intake form, we talked about it on our last call, just kind of want to show that you do have the same capabilities here within the mobile app. So yeah, there's the request guide. There's the schedule, similar to how it is on the web portal. And you can also start adding line items. But let's go ahead and we'll just start an estimate from scratch. This is typically how most people see it when I train them, because with the intake, you do need some extra features for that. So here we'll go ahead and grab our customer. All right. We can start to add line items here if we want. Let's go ahead and add a couple. As you noticed, there was an option to pick from a template. We did talk a little bit about templates on the last call. So if you are, or I'm sorry, on the last session. So if you are familiar with those templates, setting them up, you can go ahead and add them instead of having to start an estimate from scratch. So there is the button at the top also to add from a template, but we're just going to go ahead and build this one from scratch. So adding services, I always say is that we can click on add services and we can add, it starts to pull from our price book down below. So we can always grab an item from there, or we can always hit the plus button and start a brand new service. All right. Service price, let's say $500. 181. There's the option if anybody does taxes or makes items taxable, you can always flip the switch right there. And also you do have the ability for save to price book. So if this is a new service that you are going to constantly do, we can go ahead and add it to the price book from the mobile app. In this case, we're not going to, so we're going to go ahead and hit save. The other way we can start adding things to the price book is, as you can see, there's the blue like words right there that say service price book, and that is going to allow you to pull from the price book by actually going through it this way, similar to how it looks in the web portal. So if I'm going to pull this air AC filter replacement, simply add to job. It already has the price in there. Go ahead and confirm. Now it's on there. Same thing with material price book. So if we are adding materials, we can certainly pull them from the price book down below using the different options here, or we can create a new material if we need to. That's something that's not within our price book. I'm just going to go ahead and pull something from here just for sake of time. All right. Down below here, there's the option for adding discounts. So if you do give discounts to, your VIP customers, we certainly have the capability to do that as well. There's the taxable switch and the ability to look at our tax rates and pick the correct tax rate if you're working with a lot of taxes. There is also estimate message at the bottom. This is a permission that technicians can or cannot have. It's totally up to the administrators, but they can leave a message on an estimate, invoice, or a receipt. So now that we've built out our estimate, we can go ahead and hit done. Then if we do need to put it on the schedule to actually have an estimator go out there, we can certainly put it on the schedule. Otherwise, we can always hit done and always shoot it off from our phone. As an admin, do have the ability to assign a employee to it. So I'll go ahead and put Luke on it. Estimate fields, we talked a little bit about these, I want to say 2 sessions ago, but these are available. So if you've seen job type and business unit, you can certainly add these from the mobile app just like you would on the web portal. And job tags. So any tags, these are all the ones that are currently in my system, but we can always add additional tags if we need to. There's the customer history at the very bottom. So because we pulled Mezzi up here, who has a lot of history with me, I can always look at the history as well if I need to. All right, there we go. So now we have our estimate completed. We'll go ahead and hit done. Now, as the admin, I'm going to kind of go through this as, even though I assigned it to Luke, I can still kind of go through this. So here is the estimate here. You'll notice in the in the upper left-hand corner, there is the approve button. Now for that, people have been asking, where do I go ahead and collect signatures? This is where you can collect your signatures. I just heard about how signatures are soon going to be available for the web portal. So more on that to come. All right, so I collected my signature. Obviously, before that, if it was an estimator actually having to go out there, they can go ahead and hit the on my way button. And they also have the start button for when they get out there. Now down below, as they're kind of, I'll go through the items at the very top a little bit later, but first thing we can see here is all of the customer information with the as we can see, the little Apple symbol within the in the bubble there. That is so I can text the customer directly from my phone because I have an iPhone. If I want to text through the mobile app, that's what the speech bubble to the right of it is. That way they don't get my mobile number. And there's the option to call. So if I choose to call out through the mobile app, really there's 2 things that can happen. One is that if you do have our voice over IP feature, you can mask it so that it will be the business line that shows when the customer gets the call from you. Because I don't have that with my account, if I do call this customer through the mobile app, it is going to be my personal cell phone number. There's the address right there. If I want to go ahead and click on that, that's going to open up the GPS default that I have on my phone. So my Google Maps is going to pop up and it's going to lead me directly to where this customer is. We did already talk about customer history, but there's another option right there for me to pull up that customer history if I need to see it. Now, if your technician does not have the ability to make changes to jobs or estimates, they will not be able to make changes on the schedule. Here as an admin, I can always make any changes to the schedule if I need to, or reassign it. Down below here, we have an expiration date because we are working with an estimate. So if you are a type of company that likes to have estimates expire over a period of time, we can always certainly say, yep, this one needs to be expires at the end of this month. Down below here are the line items that we put on. We can certainly hit the pencil to go back to add more line items or make any changes. And there is the ability to go ahead and pull it up on a bigger screen. So if we have a smaller phone, we can make this a little bigger to show our customers. Down below, we talked about these on the last call, so I won't go too in depth on them, but we do have those checklists. So if we do want to apply a checklist to a specific estimate or job, we can certainly do that. Let's do maybe this picture test here. Cool. So as we get to the top, we'll see that checklist. There's the job fields, estimate fields that we already discussed, but again, another place we can set these up. Job tags, this particular job did not have any tags. I'll throw one on here just so we can get a look at view of how that looks. So as you can see right there, there's the job tags and the edit button, so we can always add more, remove any, whatever the case may be. Private notes, I'm sure we're all familiar with that, but in the web portal, we talked about this on the last session. But from here, we can go ahead and put more information. So maybe, let's see, customer wasn't home. All right, so that's how it would look on the mobile app. Again, we can always add any more private notes that we need to. And there is photos and docs. So if we click on that, that's going to be able to show that here we can add any attachments. There's the photo button in the upper right-hand corner. When we click on that, it will open up the camera on the mobile device so that we can go ahead and take pictures and upload them directly to the estimate. All right, so there's the checklist is incomplete. I do have a setting on here, so if not everybody has this one, you might be something you want to look into, but watch what happens when I try to hit finish. I get this error message because I didn't complete my checklist. We talked about checklists on a previous session, I believe, and if we go ahead and I mentioned how to set that particular permission up, we can go in here and make the technician actually have to complete their checklist. So did I clean up? Yep. Was the power on? Yes. Inspection pass. Took before and after pictures. All right, now that my checklist has been completed, I can go ahead and say that we are done with the estimate. Now back to the top, next to approve, we do see estimate. So if you are the type that just kind of writes up estimates and just needs to send them off, doesn't need to go through all the steps of saying on my way, start and finish, you can certainly just go ahead and hit estimate at the top there and just go ahead and send off the estimate as you fill it out in your truck or, wherever you may be. When we hit next, similar to the web portal, we can send it off via email. So I will go ahead and do so. Now, before we hit copy to job, I want to talk about more first and present. So with more, we can hit those three dots all the way on the right-hand side, and it allows us to create an additional option. So if you are a company that offers multiple options for estimates, you can certainly create multiple options and send all of those options off to your customer. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and hit copy to option just so we have another option here, and maybe we'll just add an extra service. So as everyone can see, now just below the 5 triggers at the top and the status, it now says option 1 and copy of option 1. So if I scoot over to copy of option 1, I'll go ahead and let's add one more line item. All right. Okay, so now that I have multiple options, now we can use the present feature. By clicking on present, it's going to allow us to basically show our phone, tablet, turn it around to the customer and say, all right, go ahead and look at these 2 options that we have here. And they can certainly look at all the pricing, all the information, and approve right there on the spot. Otherwise, there is the option to go ahead and send it off to the customer. If we don't really get a customer preview of what it looks like when we send both of them off in the mobile app, I would recommend doing this in the web portal if you want to see what it's going to look like to a customer. All right, so I'm actually going to, let's go ahead and approve. This option was approved. So now we can go ahead and hit copy to job, approve estimate, and copy to new job. All right, and basically the workflow starts all over again. So at the top, we can collect an extra approval. So if we want to collect approval before our work starts, after the work is completed, I don't know if we did a session on this before, but one of the new features is that we can add additional signature fields. And so us out here in California have this 3-day right to waive. So if you are in California and you've been wondering where this is, certainly reach out to myself, the support team, or Chris. We can certainly show you where to go ahead and set this up. But it is also in our help center. So let's go ahead and collect a couple of signatures. All right. So as a admin, I can go ahead. I see that this is unscheduled. I'm going to scroll on down and let's get it on the schedule. So there's an appointment. We'll just go ahead and save for today. All right, so now it's on the schedule. Now when I am ready to go ahead and say on my way, I will click that. That allows me to say, am I going to send the customer a text notification? Yes, we are. So I'm going to say on my way. And as we can see, the timer starts going right there. Now, when I get to the location, I'm going to go ahead and hit start my time. And every time I hit start my time, it's going to prompt me to leave a note. So I'm going to say starting work today. As you notice, now it has become a pause button. So technicians can always pause a job for whatever reason it may be. When they do hit pause, they are prompted to leave a note. So going to get more parts, taking lunch, whatever the case may be, they can always pause the job, and they have these options here and the ability to leave an extra note. Now, I always do bring this up to everybody. Do not hit completed my work unless you are 100% done with the job. If this job is going to take multiple days, you do not want to hit completed my work because you are going to be telling Housecall that we are saying that the entire job is completed. So if this job is taking multiple days and we want to keep that time tracking consistent, my recommendation is to say other and just simply leave a note, finish, something like finished work, finish my work today. And then that way, when they show up for the next appointment, they can go ahead and hit start my time again. So that way we get an accurate reading of how many hours they actually spent on the job. Down below, very similar to the estimate, we can see that we can add checklists there. Very similar customer view. I did see some questions about sending out service plans and things like that. So for sending out service plans, or if a customer is on a service plan, we see this customer is on a service plan, is actually on 4 of them, and has some overdue payments. We do have the ability to click into theirs, view the ones that they are on, and we can even go further and get more information about that particular service plan. There's add a service plan visit. So this customer is already on service plans. So if we're going to go out, if we're going out there and we want to say, hey, this was actually one of our service calls, we can go ahead and say which one it was for. And there we go. So the second visit was marked as completed. We did do a session on service plans before, so we might want to, if you need a little refresher of kind of what I just did and how we would see that on the back end, go ahead and take a look at that session. There is also the option for adding a service plan. So this customer is already on 4 of them, but if they want to hop on a new one, or if this was a new customer, we would still have the ability to add a service plan to our invoice so that they can go ahead and make that payment, hop on our membership or service plan. All right, continuing on down, there's all the line items. There's a copy of the estimate. So if we ever do need to pull up an estimate for a customer, we can certainly do that. Job inputs, this actually needs to be turned on in your account. Some people have it, some people don't. Well, everybody has access to it. It's whether you turned it on or not. On my account, I have it on, and really for job inputs, what that allows us to do is put in basically any additional costs. So I feel like a lot of people should utilize this tool because if your technician is out in the field and needs to go buy a bunch of nuts and bolts, screws, or whatever the case may be, they can always add that as a material input. that is a cost for the job, but you're not charging your customer for it. The other thing on here is miscellaneous costs. So what I've typically seen that used for is like if people are putting gas in the truck or buying lunch for the team. But the best thing for this, what I've seen people use this for, is if you have any subcontractors that you also hire for a particular job, someone that's not your employee, but you still pay them to help you complete a job, you would you would want to add that as a miscellaneous cost. As an admin, I do have access to the job costing. So if I did want to pull a job costing report of this particular job, I can certainly do that. Technicians have a permission. It needs to be either enabled or not. I'm going to say 99% of the companies I've worked with, they usually have that off. And everything down below is very similar to what we had on the estimate. We do see there is a property profile option. So if we do need to add a on-site equipment, we can certainly do that from the mobile app as well. So then really the last things that are on here is I'm going to first go to the more dots. So for the more dots, you do have the ability. So if you are a company that really does work orders and then does like an estimate, we can certainly convert this work order at this point to an estimate. We can apply a job template. So similar to estimate templates, if you, Chris, did we do a session on templates? I'm trying to remember.
On estimate templates, I think we briefly touched on those. We'll look right now.
All right, yeah, I wouldn't say don't worry about it too much. Maybe we'll link up later and talk about if that's something we might want to go over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe we touched on them. So there are templates. We talked about them. You can create a template and apply it so that way you don't have to build a job or an estimate from scratch. Adding a segment. I really don't like talking about segments that much anymore since we started with appointments, because before appointments was available, we used segments as appointments. But segments are best used for if you do change in work orders. That's mostly what I've seen they're best for, because really, if we have, in this example, we have job 187881, a segment will go ahead and create essentially job 18788-2. So it's like the same job, but again, just kind of a change in work order. And then there's the ability to copy to a new job if we need to. So if, you go back into a customer's history and you're constantly doing the same thing for them, you can just simply take an old job, copy it to a new one, and that way you don't have to fill it out, similar to a job template. Then there's the abilities to cancel and delete jobs. Again, the difference between the two is canceling a job is simply just canceling it. We'll still kind of see it there on the schedule. It's still in the system. Deleting it would actually delete it from the calendar, delete it from the system. Actually, deleting it from the system isn't the correct terminology. I would say it's archived, because you can always get back a deleted job. All right, and then similar to the estimate, we can send off the invoice. So if we do want to go ahead and just send off the invoice through the mobile app, we certainly can do that. And if we take payments in the field, there's the pay button right there, so that we can go ahead and take any payments, and we can leave a payment note as well. So next, if we want to take credit card, cash, check, or other, similar to how we do it in the web portal, but we can go ahead. I'm just going to mark this one as cash since I don't have a card reader. Payment was made. And now I can see here that we are paid in full. I can go ahead and mark that this job is finished. And there we go, voila. So that is pretty much everything within the mobile app, top to bottom, left to right, estimate to job. So we kind of covered every base that we certainly could. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at some questions here. All right, I actually don't see a whole lot in here. So we did have a couple of questions that came in before the session, so I'll read those as some new ones start to come in. We got a question from Sonia. My technicians cannot see on their mobile app if a service call is billed to a property management or directly to a customer. So the parent-child relationship in the mobile app isn't as functional as it is in the web portal. So if you ever are dealing with parent-child relationships and need to make any like changes to it, or if you're working with a property manager and you are now working with a new tenant, what I would recommend doing is just doing it on the web portal. We just don't have the as great functionality in the mobile app for that yet. All right, Brenda, is there a way to add new customers from a child account to a parent account? Um, Again, the answer is no. If you're in her example here, she's saying that her computer is down. If your computer is ever down, you can certainly use your phone. You don't have to go into the mobile app. You can certainly log into housecallpro.com on whatever browser is on your phone and do things on the web portal on your mobile device. Can you, oh, I see Brad put one in here. Can you review adding material cost? Can you review adding material cost to the job? Okay, I think I kind of touched on that with the job inputs, but I'll do that again here. So there is a screen. Okay. So for that, when we are doing line items, I'm just going to go ahead and add a new material here, maybe. I'm not going to put in a description or a part number, but price per unit. We can go ahead and say like, all right, this particular material is 20 bucks. Then down below here, we have for internal reporting purposes only, we can go ahead and put in our source. We did kind of talk about this before when it came to reporting and inventory, but we can go ahead and say like that, received inventory, Home Depot. Save, and so 20 bucks for each. I want to just double check something. And then that goes to our because it was a new one. So the air filter, because I marked already in my price book that they do cost me 30 bucks each, that's why they showed up on the job inputs. So you want to utilize job inputs for your costs. So for any materials, we can go into here and say, material, again, we'll say, that material test. We're charging them 20 bucks, but it cost us, 12 bucks. All right, save. All right, if a tech receives a check and doesn't turn into the office and marks it paid, how do we know as an office that it is paid and we received the check? So when they mark it as paid, you can go in on the back end. We talked about this on the last session, so I would recommend taking a look at that. There is a payment history, so we can see when we collected payment, how we collected payment, and we can issue the amount, and we can issue a refund or cancel the payment altogether. So that's how you would want to. We don't necessarily have a way of saying like, John's, Luke Skywalker over here, he collected a check. We know that he collected a check, but we don't have a way of saying like he deposited it or anything. That's got to be something you have to have a conversation with your team. I would love to see something integrating with QuickBooks. Chris, we should talk about that one soon.
Definitely.
I'd like to see more about marketing tab, email marketing options. So Sarah, we did do 2 of those. I would recommend, sure Chris probably already put it in here. If not, he will put it a little later, the link to all of the sessions. We did do a session on the marketing tab as well as email marketing. All right, no new questions, so I'm going to go back to the ones that we had prepped. Hey guys, I'm missing out, but when creating a customer in the mobile app, I don't have the option to customer bills too. We already addressed that. Is there a way to search for tags in the mobile app? So For jobs and estimates, the answer is no. I did test and see that you are able to look for customers with tags. So for just to kind of show that example is if we go into um, customers, and I know I have a bunch under new customer. So I've typed in new customer. All of these customers right here have the new customer tag. And just for proof, if I go ahead and click on that, we can see right there, tags new customer. How can I send a service agreement through the mobile app? So I know I kind of touched on this, but just to give you the full tour of it, let's go into a particular job and let's go ahead and this is an estimate. Uh, Okay, so here's a job right here. Underneath here is the service plans. And if I want to go ahead and add a service plan, I'll go ahead and click that button right there. Go through, all right, the customer wants this HVAC gold plan. I'll go ahead and select that one. We can say that it starts today because we're collecting their first payment, but obviously we can make changes. So if you need to make any changes to that, you certainly can. We'll hit the next button at the top. This plan does have add-ons, so it allows the customer to go ahead and select what add-ons they want. We'll hit next. They'll pick their billing cycle. Hit next and then done. So once we hit done, as you can see, it gives us the option to send to customer, save as a draft, or pay for the plan. So Elias, you can see right there, you do have the ability to go ahead and send off the service agreement through the mobile app. And those are the questions we have prepared. I know we're getting close on time. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, I'll give it to Chris.
Well, thank you, Phil. Really appreciate it. Y'all, I did, while we just wait for a sec. I did want to let you know I dropped a few different links throughout the session. One that goes to our Facebook community. If you're not a part of our Facebook community, I want to invite you to that. It's a Housecall Pros Facebook group. You can connect with your fellow peers who are using Housecall Pro, running home service businesses. Good mix of business owners and office staff. It's a great place to ask additional questions. You could connect with me or with Laura in there, or Lauren in there, excuse me. Brad, that's a great question. I'll leave that one to Phil. He explains it real well.
Ah, welcome to my world, Brad. So yes, we do offer one-on-one trainings. What I would recommend you do, I don't know if you have the Max or Max Plus plan, but if you do, you should be able to go down to the blue chat bubble, and at the very bottom of it, there should be a schedule a coaching button. If you do not have the Max plan, or you do and you just don't have that button enabled, you can go ahead and reach out to our chat team, again, through that blue chat bubble, and just simply request a coaching call, and they will get you on the schedule with myself or my teammates.
Y'all, I also dropped a link next Wednesday. We're having a new kind of like a new features webinar with some of our product teams. So if you're interested in some of the new things that are coming, like we've got route visualization coming. We have some AI team members that's coming out soon. A few other different cool features. So recommend showing up to that. It's a webinar. Links up there at the top. It's also going to be live in our Facebook group. So next Wednesday, 11 Pacific. Yeah.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend that because that's a lot of those features a lot of you all have been asking for a long time. I'm actually super stoked about the route optimization, so like so excited that that's coming out. Please show up to that. That is going to be so beneficial for your business.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be taking questions. The product team will take questions, and then Lauren and I will be there in the chat again. So hope to see you guys for that. And then if you're signed up for this, you'll get an email. So you should get an email in the next few days to let you know what our next topic will be. We'll definitely cover QuickBooks soon. I think we have a couple other requests, so we'll go through those and send you out a calendar. But otherwise, we'll catch you all next week.
Sounds good. Later,
Cool.
y'all.
Take care. Bye.